Self-control is something super, super critical in life because you have to be able to control yourself. How do you do that? What does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? Self-control is when you can operate in an environment without completely losing it, right? Like something emotional that's happening within your environment is happening, right? Like you're human, you're feeling those emotions, you're triggered by that, but you're not allowing that trigger to affect you in an emotional state of yourself. You're able to just stop, think about it, compose yourself, and then move forward in an appropriate manner, right? So that's full self-control. Now, here is a life example as like a mom, right? Like your child is having a tantrum. Okay, do you lay on the floor and do you scream out like they are? Or do you evaluate the situation, understand why they're having the tantrum, right? Because all it is like a ball of emotions happening and they don't know what to do with it. And then it turns into screaming and kicking and whatever kind of moment. So do you feed into that by smacking your child because they're having a tantrum? Do you feed in that by laying on the floor and having a tantrum with them, right? Like you're not setting a good example. If you're doing those things, you're probably either one, hurting them and or embarrassing them, which then doesn't allow their beautiful little brains to decide like, hey, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, and how do I make an adjustment for next time? The goal is to teach your children how to handle those emotions, how to understand what's going on, how to process that information, and then therefore say when their sister steals their Barbie doll from them, well, now they understand, okay, I'm not going to kick and scream and punch and yell and whatever. I'm going to either one, just ask my sister back for my Barbie doll that I was playing with. If she gives it back to me, cool, I've solved my own problem. If the sister does not give it back, and then their emotions start welling inside of them, instead of them turning around and like punching them in the face, they come to mommy and they say, hey mommy, this happened. Can you help me? Now I get to be a mediator and I get to go into that situation and I get to help them determine who gets to play with the Barbie doll, why, and explain it to both sides. And then typically what will happen in a more developed scenario, the child who took the Barbie doll will then just simply give it back and understand that they'll get a turn with it. Whoa, mind blown, right? Now I'll take that into an adult situation because the majority of people have lacked some sort of development, right, throughout life. For one reason or another, there's no pinpoint perfect example as to give you why that person has or hasn't learned full self-control, right? Okay. The idea is that that adult can learn full self-control. How? Well, it takes time and process, right? You have to evaluate the situation, process the information, and then allow it to be different, right? And how do we process it as an adult? Do we always have another adult to go talk to? Like, right, the child, the two siblings are arguing, they can go to mommy or daddy, right? No, not always. So who is our mediator in the process of? Well, God, right? Like we just simply talk to God. Whoa, mind blown, right? Like we have somebody that we can talk to that can give us assistance in order to be in full self-control mode. Isn't that amazing, right? Like if somebody says something to you that's hurtful, you can either choose one, to turn around and hurt that person, right? Hurt people. Or you can choose to punch that person, right? Or you can choose to just be quiet. And instead of just being quiet, you then can, fourth option, go and talk to God. Maybe not in that very moment. Maybe you're emotional. Maybe you're not in the right place. But when you have time to think about it on your own, right, you've removed yourself from that situation and then you go talk to God about it. And the majority of the time, he'll solve the problem without you doing anything. How cool is that, right? Full self-control. And he wants full self-control for you not to give a win to the other person, but it gives you a win because it's teaching you how to control yourself and be a better person and make more money and or be a better parent and whatever the situation is. Because think about it, if you're in a work environment, if a coworker lashes out at you and then you're lashing back out at them, is your boss going to turn around and say, you know what, you deserve a raise? I'm going to give you a raise. Probably not, because you're causing disruption within the workplace. The goal is to be able to control yourself, right? And then if the boss sees a lot of different things, and honestly, if you are a decent person, people are going to talk about you, right? People will tend to talk whether it's good or bad, but if it's good, it gets back to the boss likes it, the boss wants to keep you around, right? Like, you're a positive for the business. So not only are you a positive, but you're an asset to the business. Like, you're creating them money, right? Like, so like, then here comes a promotion, and then you're like, oh wow, that's amazing. It is, because you learned full self-control, and you're able to be an asset rather than a burden or an enabler or whatever it is. So think about it in the concepts of those areas, and then what will happen is, like, it'll grow and it'll flourish because you're learning full self-control, and you're able to say to yourself, that makes sense, that doesn't make sense. And you don't always have to like blabber about it all the time. Just simply take it in, receive it, determine what you can do to fix the problem or mitigate the problem or whatever it is, and then move forward. It's really that simple. But it takes time. You have to want it. You have to mold and grow, and you know, it takes some time and effort, and you have to just be willing to present that, you know, and understand that maybe you're not always right all the time. And then, you know what? The growth will happen. So I hope that this helps you, and I will see you next time.